Hello, and welcome to MRA's 5-Minute HR Feed, the podcast where we share quick and practical information. In the time it takes you to go grab a cup of coffee, you'll gain insights into hot topics and pressing HR issues. I'm your host, Nicole Morehouse, and we're glad you're listening. Before we start, here's our usual disclaimer that the information being shared is not and should not be considered legal advice. Now let's dive into our topic.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this episode of our 5-Minute HR Feed. Today, joining us is Sara Strohschein. Sara is a hotline advisor. I'm excited to have her on the podcast today. Sara has a lot of expertise in a lot of areas. She has served in a lot of capacities over her career, and she has some focuses with employee relations, training, and performance management, and the list does go on from there. Welcome, Sara.
Thank you, Nicole, for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
Thank you. Yes, we're delighted to have you. And Sara, today we're going to talk about career pathing. We mentioned in our November podcast, when we talked about pay transparency, that this would be kind of a follow-up to that discussion. We do get a lot of questions on pay transparency, and we also are sought after experts when it comes to helping organizations with talent, including career pathing. And so Sara is going to showcase for us some things that you might need to think about and questions that you might need answered with regards to career pathing. Sara, can we start out just like real high level? Can you define career pathing for us?
Sure, absolutely. A really high level definition is that it's the series of jobs an employee may hold during their tenure with your organization. So that differentiates itself from their overall career goals, but this is inside your organization, and it involves developing paths for them to be able to progress within your organization. And that can easily tie in with, your employee engagement, employee satisfaction, and compensation.
Okay, so is there one way of doing career pathing, or are there multiple ways?
There are multiple ways, and you can, I look at it as three basic levels or paths, and those are vertical, horizontal, and then what's known as lattice paths. And the vertical path is really hierarchical in its nature if you think of moving up a ladder. So someone might start at an entry level and move their ways up to a manager and above. The horizontal paths sort of support a broader understanding of an organization by moving from one department to another, generally at the same level. And then the lattice path is really more flexible, and it covers utilizing both vertical and horizontal movements within an organization. So someone may start at an entry level, move up a level to maybe a supervisory role, move over to a different department in that supervisory role, and then either move to a different department to expand their knowledge or be promoted again to a manager. So those are really the three basics. You do your research, it can go much, much deeper, but to me, this is sort of the simplified way to be able to start an implementation.
Okay. Speaking of which, now that you've given us some different ways of thinking about and implementing career pathing, career ladders, are there some things like some takeaways for this podcast that our audience that you would suggest that they think about as they begin to make decisions about doing that, or if they're already further along in their journey and they want to start to have some process steps or structure?
Certainly. I think if you're early on in the process and you're mulling over if this is a process that would be beneficial to your organization, statistically it's been shown that many employees are dissatisfied with the fact that they're not given the opportunities that they believe they should have. And so I think if you're trying to make an argument, or make your case to leadership why this is important, the ability to promote from within, and as part of, because it also can tie into succession planning. So there are a number of reasons why this is beneficial to the organization as well as the employee. Another really important thing is to obviously get the buy-in of leadership. But they also need to understand that this is not a quick fix. You may be able to do some targeted work with really critical roles, but as a general rule, this is a long-term project to develop employees to move within your organization. A couple other things are to really have a good understanding of the current state of your organization and where you want it to be in the future state. What does that look like? What are the skill gaps? What are you going to need to have that movement come to your organization successfully? Another really big piece, and I'm a little bit loath to say this, but is really having strong, well-developed job descriptions. They really are a cornerstone in helping you walk through with an employee what the requirements for any job that they're looking to move to are, so that you can talk about educational and experiential requirements associated with the position. And then, of course, there's tools to do the documentation, to communicate with employees about what their next steps are. And then another is to say, how are we going to support their learning? Is that through internal training, external training? Are we going to have coaches and mentors? How do we want to structure this? So again, there's a lot of flexibility.
That's definitely a lot to take in. Very insightful. And I think you were very, for the small amount of time that we had, you shared a lot of really good nugget. And am I correct in saying that you also authored an article about this that we'll be showcasing in our next issue of Inside HR?
I certainly did. Thank you for bringing that up. You can look for an article that I wrote. I think it's in December, and it's called Career Paths, the Key to Attracting and Retaining Talent. And it goes into these ideas and concepts more deeply to give our members more information related to this process.
Awesome. We'll definitely look forward to that. And hopefully our audience got a lot out of the podcast today. Your insight is greatly appreciated. And for our listeners, our 24/7 hotline is available. And Sara, like I said at the beginning, she is one of our advisors. So you might actually happen to catch her on the phone or any one of our other awesome HR hotline advisors. So if you need quick assistance, reach us at infonow@mranet.org. Otherwise, we do have internal teams. If you need customized expertise or anything like that, we can connect you with the right people within MRA to help you out on a project basis. So with that, we're going to end our podcast. And being that it is December and it is just before the holidays, happy holidays, everyone. And we'll see you in January. Thanks, Sara.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to MRA's 5-Minute HR Feed. Be sure to follow and connect with us for more podcasts and updates. If you're a member and have questions, you can always connect with MRA's 24/7 HR hotline by emailing infonow@mranet.org or by calling 866-474-6854.